We are through 2 weeks of college football, and today we're going to go ahead and bring you our current playoff predictions. Now, this is based on a loose projection from us of what we think is going to happen the rest of the season. So we have our current 12 teams that we think are going to make it into the college football playoffs, and we also roughly ordered it based on what we think their records are going to be, though we're not going to go into that really, and the conference champions, which we will tell you. And number one is the conference champions of the Big Ten, Penn State. We have the Nittany Lions losing to Ohio State in the regular season, but getting their revenge in the Big Ten championship, putting them at one, which means that Ohio State, undefeated in the regular season, with just that one loss to the Nittany Lions, will fall at number two. Number three, we do still have the Texas Longhorns. As of right now, I still don't see them losing another game. I think Arch Manning is going to figure things out, and this offense will be just fine. The defense certainly looks to be good enough. So I think Texas can absolutely still win the SEC. And in fourth place is our ACC champions, the Miami Hurricanes. They took over this from Clemson in our preseason predictions. I still think the Tigers are going to have a shot, but as of right now, Miami just looks like the much better team. So we're rolling with the Hurricanes as ACC champs and the winners of a first round bye for now.
Five, we have the runner-up in the SEC, and that is the LSU Tigers. Obviously, they have their big win over Clemson, but the rest of the schedule is going to be pretty difficult. And if they do get that matchup with Texas in the SEC championship game, I do think it could go either way. But like Jonah said, we're going to still go with Texas for right now. I trust this defense and that Arch Manning can figure out how to run this offense effectively. But either one of these teams could be that SEC champion, so we could see that flip flop very soon. At number six, we're going to have the Oregon Ducks not making an appearance in the Big Ten championship game because they do lose their head to head matchup against Penn State. But this offense with Dante Moore is looking very good early on. That was a big question mark we had for the Ducks going into this season, and they've all but answered that as of right now. We'll see what happens when they play Penn State in a couple weeks if that offense is still as potent. At number seven, we have the Georgia Bulldogs. A little bit of a slip up this week against Austin Peay, but this is still going to be a solid Georgia team. Not winning the SEC, but they still have a really solid schedule to allow them to make a bid for the college football playoffs as an at-large team. And at number eight, we have Oklahoma coming off of their big win against Michigan. John Mateer looks like the Heisman frontrunner right now. Very, very solid quarterback. I really like this Oklahoma team. They made a Michigan offense look really, really bad last week. And offensively, they ran all over this Michigan defense. This is going to be a tough team to stop in the postseason and one that no one's going to really want to see.
Number nine, going to be the Texas Tech Red Raiders. We have them as our current Big 12 champions, though that conference is really wide open. No matter what happens, though, I do think we are going to see a two-loss champ out of that conference, which is why they end up down at nine. 10, the Clemson Tigers. Clemson losing the ACC championship to Miami, potentially another game somewhere in the regular season as well. I really just think that we were maybe a little bit too high on Clemson initially, but they do still have a very solid roster. Cade Klubnik, I still believe, will figure things out, and you cannot argue with having two of the best defensive ends in the country. Clemson should be able to make the playoffs, although right now I think it'll be at a lower seed, like 10. At number 11, we do not have another Power 4 team. It is, in fact, our Group of Five champion, the USF Bulls. Based on the schedule that they have, they absolutely can get a higher seed than 12. And with their current resume, they're already building, beating Boise State, who, as of right now, I think a lot of people still believe is one of the better Group of Five schools, along with a road win at Florida now. The Bulls are starting to build a solid resume, and they won't have as many opportunities later in the season. So they could potentially drop back to 12 next week if Miami handles business. But if USF can at least make that game close, they'll absolutely have an argument to be ranked higher if their only loss is to the Hurricanes. And then at number 12, we have our Big 12 runner-ups, the Utah Utes. And so far, I've just been really impressed with Devin Dampier and this Utah offense. I really think that they have a chance to compete in a lot of these Big 12 games because they have the ability to win shootouts this season. And I think that is going to be huge when it comes to a conference that plays very many high scoring games. So we have Utah coming in as our last at large bid.
As we move on to the quarterfinal matchups, we are just going to be super brief with these because these are all hypothetical situations. But kicking it off with Oklahoma and Texas Tech. Oklahoma has a potential Heisman front runner on their team in John Mateer. I'm going to go with the better offense here, and that is the Oklahoma Sooners. Then LSU versus Utah. It's kind of the same situation. Garrett Nussmeier plus an amazing defense. Brian Kelly is actually going to get a playoff win here as LSU moves on. Georgia and Clemson, a game that easily could have been the national championship between two great head coaches, but Georgia's the team that I think is looking a little bit better right now. Clemson could figure it out later in the season, but for right now, we're going to rock with the Bulldogs. And then between Oregon and USF, unfortunately, I don't think USF has enough magic to pull off an upset at Autzen Stadium. The Ducks get the win, and that sets up a date with Texas.
Going back up to the top left side of the bracket for the quarterfinals, we start off in the Rose Bowl with Penn State and Oklahoma. Really interesting matchup here. Like Connor said, really liking John Mateer so far this season. This Penn State team, though, they have so much coming back from last year. They have the playoff experience. I think that's the difference. Give me the Nittany Lions to move on to the semis. LSU and Miami. This is a great matchup. Carson Beck is familiar with teams like LSU and SEC play. Could give Miami a little bit of an advantage, but I really like this LSU team. I think they have the ability to win some of these really big games. Give me the Tigers to move on to the semis and play Penn State. Ohio State and Georgia. This was an incredible game when we saw it a few years ago. Georgia had the better defense that time. This time, I think the Buckeyes very well could have the best defense in the country, especially after what we saw in that Texas game. I was really impressed by that performance. And when it comes to the offense, so far Julian Sayin has looked like a better quarterback than Gunnar Stockton. Right now, I am taking the Buckeyes over the Bulldogs. And then Oregon and Texas. Another really interesting game. Both have had very solid defenses to this point in the season, but kind of the same thing with Ohio State and Georgia. The quarterback that I believe in more right now is not Arch Manning, it's Dante Moore. Give me the Ducks.
Semifinal matchups, we have Penn State and LSU squaring off, and this is going to be a really tough matchup because it's so much returning production on both sides. But I think the biggest difference here is that LSU is going to be more tested to this point in the season, and I actually trust Brian Kelly, surprisingly, to get the job done in the playoffs instead of James Franklin. We're going to go with LSU to advance to the national championship game. And then we have a rematch from last year's playoffs, Ohio State and Oregon. And both teams have new starting quarterbacks this year, but only one team has the two best players on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and that is the Buckeyes with Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Ohio State is back in the national championship to face off against LSU.
And I think that will be quite the matchup. This is a really, really tough game for me to predict. I think that LSU has an advantage on the offense when it comes to experience, but when it comes to true talent, I think the Buckeyes still have some of the most talented players in the country, especially when you look at Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Those are the two best players in college football. That is a huge advantage for them. And they say defense wins championships. I believe that the Buckeyes have the better defense. We have them as our national champions. Our preseason prediction was Clemson. We are now switching that to Ohio State, and at least for right now, I think it is going to continue to stay the Buckeyes until we see another team that looks like they can actually dethrone the defending champs. So thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.